Welcome to the first of our videos on mission. And as we begin to talk about the importance of mission and what we are called to do, not only what we are called to do, but who we are called to be as God's children and as congregations of people gathered together in the Lord's name to receive his blessings and do his work, we're going to talk about focus and making sure that we are focused on the right things. In the very 10 commandments, which of course all of us know, we've seen them all over the place, sometimes in churches, even in schoolyards, oftentimes, the 10 commandments displayed proudly. The first command, you shall have no other gods before me. This is a really important commandment. This is the commandment about idolatry. And the reality is that unfortunately, even as Christians, even in the church, that there are idols everywhere. We just are kind of immune to them. We don't maybe even recognize them anymore. And Martin Luther, one place he went so far as to say that you will find more idols in the church than anywhere else on earth. I think this is absolutely true, because as we are working with churches and we are bringing them prayerfully, leading them through a process that creates a vision and mission and a new sense of purpose, one of the hardest things that we oftentimes as congregations need to work through is the idea that there are other things that, even if we're not going to admit it, even if we wouldn't say it, even if we wouldn't believe it, we are making more important than Jesus. Martin Luther said in his large catechism, in his explanation of the first commandment, if your heart and your head are right, in other words, focused on God, focused on Christ, then the rest of your life is going to be right. If your heart and mind are wrong, focused on something else, then your whole life is going to be wrong. And I'll say, and we're going to have a number of guests, I'm sure we've already had some that you may remember from earlier episodes that are going to talk about some of the things that even in the church have maybe taken that first place, that have gotten us distracted as God's people, that we may be trading Jesus for and worshiping. Because when we as God's people let anything other than the main thing be the main thing, it is going to hurt and it's going to cause harm. And I would say this is why many churches are dying, at least numerically. Maybe they're not dying spiritually, but at least numerically today, because so many have made other things more important than Jesus. It may be a certain political persuasion. It could be a certain set of morality. But when we as God's people, we want to live into his purpose and we expect to receive his blessing, we're going to first have to make sure that we are keeping the main thing, that we are focused on Christ, that we are going to pursue him and his plans for us. That means that everyone in the room is going to have to take a second seat. It's too easy for us to put ourselves first, think we got all the answers, we know how it's supposed to be, but I can tell you based on my experience as a consultant who's worked with dozens of congregations all over the country, anytime that I have gone into a church and I thought I knew where God was going to lead that plan, inevitably, every single time, he took it in a different direction. And I'll give you just one example of that. I was working with a church down in Georgia, and they had a $12 to $20 million real estate opportunity. This is a little church. They're worshiping 40 to 60 people on a weekend. And we come in, they called me in, they thought that we were going to answer this question. Are we going to sell or are we not going to sell? Are we going to start a new church somewhere else? And as we got sitting down and we were talking, and we were about 4 or 5, 6 hours into a conversation, it became abundantly clear, not because of me, but because God was guiding the process. They had a school on their campus, that there wasn't a single member in that church on Sunday morning that knew the name of a single kid in the school. And with that discovery that God gave them, they recognized something was wrong. And they decided they couldn't sell their church because they hadn't even yet touched the mission field that God had put in their building 5 days a week. And so this is a fun, exciting process that we get to walk through as we seek God's will. And then we want to walk in his way and pursue the plans that he has for us as God's people. But if we're going to have any shot, have any chance whatsoever, it is going to be important for us to put first things first, make sure the main thing is the main thing. And it is simple as God loving his people and us sharing that love with the people that he has put into our lives. So I hope you stick around. Watch the rest of our videos as we continue to consider how it is that we're going to keep first thing first as we pursue God and mission.